I would like to thank the Arkansas Peace and Justice Memorial Movement, the Arkansas Municipal League, and Just Communities of Arkansas for co-sponsoring this wonderful event. And from a national standpoint, we have to thank the W.K. Kellogg Foundation because their national leadership on this drives racial healing discussions all across this country. Many of our counties are tuned in to this event right now, and many have signed proclamations declaring the importance of racial healing. At the Association of Arkansas Counties, we have likewise issued a proclamation recognizing the importance of today, January 17th, 2023, and declaring it as the 2023 National Day of Racial Healing. This morning, I was at my church for a prayer service as we were having a week of fasting and prayer. This morning's devotion was focused on a part of the Lord's Prayer. They were breaking it down, and we'll be doing so this week. But I thought it was providential that this morning, a portion of this prayer that we studied was on earth as it is in heaven. And I was reminded as we went through the prayer too, how many Arkansans have prayed that prayer through the years? How many of us have sat in our bedrooms, in our living rooms, or in church and said, on earth as it is in heaven? To think that so many of us have uttered those words without really considering deeply what we are asking for. There is no need for racial healing in heaven. For all intents and purposes, there are no racial divisions at all. If only we followed through on that prayer, with that prayer on this earth. If only we did that. When I think back 2 generations ago and recall what I can as a child, I'm so proud of the progress that we have made as a society, but so aware of that yet we have not made. I encourage every Arkansan to commit an act today to bridge this gap and move our earth towards what we pray in our hearts, the heaven that will come. And furthermore, I encourage all of us to have a focus in the coming year on big paradigm shifts in our thinking that will propel us to a more healed society. As I close, I want to thank all of the counties which have signed proclamations in 2023 to declare a National Day of Racial Healing as a local one as well. The 26 counties are Pulaski, and Judge Hyde is going to speak to us in a moment. Thank you very much, Judge. Greene County, Little River County, St. Francis County, Garland County, Clark County, Sevier County, Hempstead County, Calhoun County, Van Buren County, Crittenden County, Howard County, Saline County, Drew County, Jackson County, Perry County, Hot Spring County, Polk County, Arkansas County, Cleburne County, Independence County, Grant County, Columbia County, Benton County, Baxter County, and Johnson County. I'm so proud. Great numbers from around our state. I'm so proud of the county judges, many of whom are brand new in the job, showing leadership and signing a proclamation for their local county. Many of those proclamations are going to the press locally, as well as what we will see in statewide newspapers, hopefully tomorrow. But I'm really proud of the efforts that have been made towards racial healing on a local level in our state. So with that said, I think I'm turning it over to the pastor, or to Kwami. I'm going to turn it over to our dear friend Kwami. Thank you. Thank you.
Speaking of the Lord's Prayer, we're going to call up Reverend Dr. Preston Clegg to give the respected, the much requested devotional call for today.
Good morning. I'm thrilled to be here with you. Primarily, this is the first press conference I've ever been in that a dog attended. And so I'm really thrilled to be here for that. I appreciate your presence here as civic, county, and municipal leaders. You don't have to be here today. Neither do you have to care about the things we're talking about today, but you do. And not only do I appreciate that, I respect that. And your presence here today is not lost on me. I fear that we have a caricatured version of Martin Luther King Jr. in our minds today. I fear that we've cut and pasted some quotes that were utterly divorced from his life. I feel like we've sanded down some hard edges of things that he said and ways that he lived that would heal us today if we listened to it and practiced it. A few years ago, my church gave me a sabbatical. Great blessing. You churches should give your ministers sabbaticals. And I studied systemic racism. I took a tour of the South, the civil rights movement, and I read exhaustively everything Martin Luther King Jr. ever wrote or said. And I realized in so doing that the Martin Luther King Jr. I thought I knew wasn't Martin Luther King Jr. On April 4th, 1967, King went to Riverside Church in New York City and gave a rousing speech. It was about an hour long, not exactly a sermon, something more than a sermon. I'm doing something less than a sermon today, by the way. He did something more that day. It was April 4th, 1967. He was assassinated exactly 1 year later, April 4th, 1968. And I don't think that's an utter coincidence, because what he said on April 4th, 1967 was incredibly profound and transformative and therefore challenging. What most people remember from that speech is it was the first time that he clearly and publicly denounced our role in the war of Vietnam. That's what made the papers after that. And he was challenged from every corner because of what he said. The conundrum for King in that moment was, how do I champion nonviolence in the streets? That nonviolence is the pathway towards civic transformation without proclaiming nonviolence everywhere, right? Most of us want everybody else to be nonviolent. And we're nonviolent until we're not. And so King stood up and said, in this seamless garment of nonviolence and peace, we have to think about violence in all of its forms. Of course, that upset a number of folks on the right. There were even some civil rights movement leaders that thought he had taken his eye off the prize and compromised the civil rights movement. But I think the most profound thing he said in that sermon is something we often skip over. He invited the audience to rethink the story of the Good Samaritan. You remember that story in the way Jesus told it, right? I'm not going to preach. Time to story. A lawyer came to Jesus and said, what's the greatest commandments? He said, love God with all you are and love your neighbor. And the lawyer wanted to prove himself and said, well, then who is my neighbor? Who is my neighbor? And Jesus said, a man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, a very dangerous path because of all the rocks and crags and places to hide. They often called it the bloody way. And on that path, he fell into the hands of robbers who beat him and stripped him of his clothes and robbed him and left him in a ditch half dead. And along the path comes a priest and a Levite. Here come the clergy, y'all. We're going to be okay. Here come the clergy. But they see him. The priest and the Levite see him and pass by on the other side. I hate it when Jesus picks on the clergy like that. And then comes a Samaritan, an other. If there ever was an other in the Jewish mind, it was a Samaritan. Here comes an other who sees a man in the ditch, bandages his wounds, stops and tends to him, takes him to a Holiday Inn, leaves his credit card on file and says whatever he needs until he's well, put it on my tab. And Jesus turned to the lawyer and said, who acted a neighbor? Not just who was your neighbor, but who acted a neighbor? And the lawyer couldn't even say Samaritan. He said, the one who had mercy. And Jesus said, go and do likewise. That's the story we all know. And y'all, I think we're good at that as Arkansans, as people in your towns and cities and counties and churches. I think that comes natural to most of us. We see people in ditches and we offer a hand up and help them on their way. Love compels us to do that. But at Riverside Church, King said this: what would love do? And what would the neighborly response be if the ditches were littered with people? Then what do we do? At what point would we stop giving hand ups from the ditches and start saying, we got to start taking care of the road? We've got to start monitoring what is putting people in ditches in the first place. King says that's what justice does. That justice is, as has been said, justice is what love looks like in public. Justice is tending to the road so that we don't need so much mercy lifting people out of ditches. And yet, y'all, when you start tending to the road, that's the hard work. Because if I lift someone out of a ditch, that costs me $5, $10, $50, $100 for that act of mercy. And that's no small matter. That is good and right. But the moment I begin to question, hey, what about the road? Put that person in the ditch. Now, I might have to change. Not just give money, but change. And I might have to participate in the change of how we're doing the road. In that sermon, King said, we've got to tend to the road, not just the ditches. And therefore, he called for a radical revolution of values. Not just more mercy, but a radical revolution of values that keeps people out of the ditch, so that it may be on earth as it is in heaven. Y'all, the ditches are full. I don't have to tell you that. Life expectancy in this country varies drastically by zip code, which has everything to do with racial demographics. You know that. Educational experiences vary widely, largely along racial lines today, because of unjust education policies. Violence disproportionately impacts some communities more than others, probably some communities do, because of unjust policies and a lack of courage to do what is right and just. There's an ever-widening wealth gap, largely along racial lines. We know that wealth is largely transferred by inheritance. We don't earn wealth so much as we inherit wealth. And y'all, just a few generations ago, we haven't yet repaired what was wrong. We have a criminal justice system which believes that the only way to be hard on crime is to be hard on criminals. And y'all, that is not the same thing. And maternal death rates vary widely along racial lines. What I am saying to y'all is that these problems will not be met fully by mercy and benevolence alone. Yes, more mercy. Yes, more benevolence. But we will never benevolence our way out of problems we injusticed our way into. You are leaders. And to whatever extent pastors are leaders in our culture, I'm a leader too. Which means we get to help people out of ditches, and I hope we do that more and more. But what I hope we all leave here thinking about today is the road. And as leaders, we get to shape the road too. It will be the most difficult work we ever do. And the most important and holy too. So let's do it. God of the way, give us ample mercy and love and care to lift out of the ditches all who are therein. But also give us wisdom and courage and love enough to tend the road so that we don't need as much mercy. In the name of the God of justice and love and mercy, we pray. Amen.
Next up, we'll have Mayor Derrick Rainey of the city of Wrightsville.
Good morning, everyone. I'd first like to acknowledge and honor Kwami and Hilary. Thank you for the work that you're doing to lead the way for racial healing. It doesn't go unnoticed. It is impactful. And through the Arkansas Peace and Justice Before the movement, there's impact that you will see, but that will go beyond you. So thank you. And to the Arkansas Municipal League Director, Mark Hayes, Pulaski County Judge, Hyde, City of Little Rock, Mayor Terry Hardwick, as well as City of Little Rock Mayor Frank Scott Jr., my other boss. To JCA Executive Director Hilary, my classmate. So good to see you. From the Clegg School, and to everybody who's represented here. We are here today, not for ourselves. And I hope that those who see us see the work that's being done, but that we bring people back to the table of the work. My name is Derrick Rainey, and I bring you greetings from the great city of Wrightsville, Arkansas, as the newly elected mayor. But many of you just had a crisis that was existential. We said, how can something be so great that I never heard of? That's what I hear all the time. Where is Wrightsville? What is Wrightsville? But that's why we're here today. And for those of you who have heard about Wrightsville, the extent of that knowledge may be that it's the smallest municipality, or you think it's the smallest municipality in Pulaski County. Well, it's just off of exit 7 on the way to Pine Bluff. And that there's a prison down there. That's what we hear. That's what we know. But that could almost be completely correct. Wrightsville does sit only 10 minutes south of Little Rock. And there is a correction facility there within the city limits. But it's not the smallest municipality in Pulaski County. Okay, let's take that honor with only 778 people. But when you search online for the cities in Pulaski County, you'll find a very stark difference between the cities. You'll see the skyline of the capital city, Little Rock. You'll see the Verizon Arena for North Little Rock, and you'll see the parks and scenery of Sherwood, Jacksonville, and Montvale. However, the image that shows up when you search Wrightsville reveals a sobering evil of our past. You'll see a black and white photo of African-American men packed into a room. And this past is why the National Day of Racial Healing is important. And if you're a student of history, then you will know that there were 21 young Black men who were burned alive in the Arkansas Negro Boys Industrial School at Wrightsville Union in 1959. And it was a juvenile correctional facility for Black male youth, just like me in Arkansas. And there were 2 units in 2 locations in 1936, one in Jefferson County and one in Wrightsville. And I say again, only 10 minutes south of Little Rock. But although this was a horrible period in Wrightsville's history, this is not Wrightsville, Arkansas. And in an effort to intentionally build the beloved community which we are so seeking to embrace from Dr. King's words, thank you, Pastor, for they are sometimes just words to us. But this can be a reality. Our residents celebrated for the first time the holiday in a way that was a day of service, but that it built community. We may have a drumming circle from Stephen Booth, and it sent vibrations throughout not only our bodies, but throughout the community that there is change and change is possible. And then we planted trees, which speaks on the words of Dr. King. He said, even if I know that the world will end tomorrow, I will still plant an apple tree. So we planted 3 apple trees and 2 crab apple trees. And the children loved it, but the adults loved it even more. Why is that the case? This was not historical because of the events of yesterday on the holiday, but because it brought voices back to the table of discourse. And it revealed that Wrightsville was more than just a city with a prison in it. There were over 30 businesses that existed in the city of Wrightsville. Now we have maybe less than 5. But what the residents started reflecting on is that we have a very strong past and a very bright future if we do the things that we're talking about today. And with that quality of life that residents experience, we call this From Sweet Home to Hensley, the Project 365. And we're moving forward focused on 3 E's that can help our community come back together. It's education, economic development, and engagement. When people don't feel like their voices are at the table, they become despondent, disconnected. But if we can focus on those 3 things, our residents say that we will be a better city. And as I reflect on all of this history from my home city, I'm reminded that history brings us to the present, but our future is determined by what we do with the present. And what we are doing in the city of Wrightsville is working to ensure that the next 7 generations have a bright future. We all have a calling in life. And one aspect of this calling comes from 2 Corinthians 5 and 18. It says that we have been given the ministry of reconciliation. I agree, thank you. This reconciliation comes with an acknowledgement and reverence for what has happened in the past. But it also requires us to right the wrongs and to invest resources in communities that are disadvantaged and forgotten. Now, Wrightsville is one of those places along 365. Yes, just 10 minutes and 10 miles southeast of Bullerwell metropolitan that has a great past, but it has the potential to have a greater future and hope. So I'll close with this thought. Many of us want to go to heaven, and most would not refute that. But we never stop to look at what heaven actually looks like. And through our efforts today and beyond, it's the hope and prayer that bringing people together to cultivate racial healing, we will begin to experience the ministry of reconciliation and heaven on earth as it is in heaven. And it looks like me. It looks like you. It sounds like me, and it sounds like you. And that will then activate thy kingdom come and thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. But we shall all be known by the love that we show. And what we do today will impact 7 generations to come. So let us be intentional about what we do. And let us not use words for the buzz of the day. But let us do it with the intention to build the beloved community in tangible ways. Thank you. God bless.
When Clarice and I said that we wanted to make the National Day of Racial Healing here in Arkansas something a lot bigger than it is outside of Arkansas. The first idea we came up with was to contact former Governor Asa Hutchinson and ask him to issue a proclamation. And he did it immediately. And he said, well, that's easy, so easy. Let's find somebody else. And the next person we called was Pulaski County Judge Hyde. And he issued one right away. And both of them were the first governor and the first county judge in the United States to issue a proclamation. So I bring Hyde.
I was going to do this after I gave my short speech, but and I won't take the time to read this proclamation. I'll make like getting a bunch of politicians together in a room. Here's what I like about this group. They just don't talk, they do. So I want to take this opportunity to thank the Arkansas Peace and Justice Memorial Movement for inviting me to be part of this event as we open a week-long observance of the National Day of Racial Healing in Pulaski County and across the state. And I should have said, welcome me back again. We had a little interruption there with the some kind of virus thing for a while. We're back together. I guess we got the name back. In order to address the racial inequities that exist in our community, we must have meaningful dialogue amongst ourselves. Speak frankly, and most importantly, we must listen to one another. Today we come together to do just that. This is an opportunity for all of us to improve our community relations, cultivate opportunities for our citizens, and work together for a common good. Let's all think of how we can focus on racial healing and intentionally create Martin Luther King Jr.'s beloved community here in Arkansas, not just today, but year-round. As community leaders, elected officials, and engaged citizens, we must never shy away from new ideas or difficult conversations that for too long, far too long, have been avoided. County government at its core exists to serve the people and provide them with the highest quality services in an equitable manner. Just like the other 74 counties around the state, and every city in Arkansas, and today especially in Wrightsville, Arkansas. Thank you, Mayor. It's our mission to ensure that quality of life programs and vital public services are easily accessible to those who need assistance, and especially for those who live in historically underserved communities. So on behalf of Pulaski County government, I want to welcome your honest input and your innovative ideas. We don't lack for strong back and willing to do the work, but sometimes our best ideas aren't the best ideas, so we're always looking. Together we can find new and inventive ways that will benefit our citizens. Along with public input, the county bases much of its programming needs on data that helps identify areas of need. We can tailor our service and coordinate our many community investments. And I say investments because everything we do is an investment in our future. It is an investment in our community and our youth. At the county level, we've made great strides to address the inequities that exist through the development of programs and services geared towards improving every citizen's life and expanding opportunities. For example, the Pulaski County Youth Services Department was born out of the need for accessible youth services in the community. Today, they're active in the lives of our youth, from offering free ACT prep to high school students, providing essential after-school care to support working families. A whole lot of stuff in between. They're an active group. Meanwhile, the Pulaski County Community Services is actively addressing the threat of housing insecurity, hosting programs that directly provide housing for those who are homeless or in danger of becoming homeless. The county's Mobile Makerspace grant, in partnership with the Innovation Hub, expands educational opportunities for students, especially those in underserved communities. By order of the county judge, that's the focus of getting that hands-on STEAM, not STEM, but STEAM education to our students. By physically bringing the resources to the students, the program specifically focuses on renewing students' interest in math and in science. In short, we're doing a lot, but it would be naive and premature to unfurl the mission accomplished banner. We all remember that. We have to acknowledge that there is still much work to be done, and we must not be deterred by those looking to divide us. Ignoring the deep wounds this country has inflicted upon many of its citizens does not move us forward toward healing. It only widens the gap. We are a country built on the idea that we are all created equal. And to deny that basic fact is not only un-American, it's fundamentally and morally wrong. We're in this together. And it takes all of us to reflect on racial healing and ask ourselves how we can make this a community where we all can flourish and achieve our full potential. On behalf of Pulaski County, I'm proud to proclaim today, January 17, 2023, the National Day of Racial Healing.
Next up, we have Hilary Trudell. Hilary Trudell, pardon me, is the Executive Director of Just Communities of Arkansas, which has been our partner from the very beginning in this endeavor. Now we have like about 30 partners statewide that are working with us on the National Day of Racial Healing. But since we're talking about first, we'll talk about our first partner, Just Communities of Arkansas.
Thank you, Kwami and Villines. Thanks for inviting me to be here. Thank you for coordinating all of this. Y'all deserve a really long vacation next week. You've been working so hard. I know we've been meeting so much about this. Thank you, Whitney, as well. I know you've done so much to make this happen. Thank you, Judge Hyde, for your remarks. Especially love the conversation about bringing people together and concentrating on action. Mayor Rainey, I'm so proud to call you a classmate. Thank you for telling us about Wrightsville, the opportunities there, but also about its history, as painful as it is to know. I'm glad I do. I'm glad I have that knowledge. And Pastor Clegg, thank you so much for being always inspirational. He's the only one that really, really makes me want to go to church. For those of you who know me well, you know that I had a child recently in September. Having a baby has been a desire of mine for a very long time, and I was overjoyed to bring my son home. It's true when they say it's like nothing you've ever experienced. The love that I have for this small, tiny human, I could stare at him for hours and not get bored. I'm fully in love, but I'm also incredibly exhausted. I'm really tired, y'all. Sleep has become one of those elusive luxuries that is as rare for me as a day reading on the beach. Naps have become a thing of past dreams. I look forward to sleep. I crave it. And when I sleep, I cherish it like the last piece of pumpkin pie at Thanksgiving. Sleep has also become an escape for me. My baby was in the NICU, and sleep was the only time that I was free from worry, free from the guilt that my body hadn't given him what he needed, and free from the anxiety that the alarm bells on the monitor in his room meant something was really wrong. Sleep was freedom from pain. I understand the allure of sleep. But I also intimately understand that this longed-for rest can keep me from teaching my son about the world. There has been much stress and disagreement over what we should teach our children about the history of race in this country. Some are concerned that teaching our young people about the horrors of slavery and all of the oppressive policies and actions that came afterwards will burden them with guilt and shame and create more division than unity. To keep them in the dark seems a safer route for some. The idea of woke culture has become a thing of ridicule and something to be avoided. I can understand fear. Being awake is hard and can be very painful. Being awake, being fully awake, means we have to face life, our past, our present, our hopes, our dreams, and our failures. When my son is asleep, outside of a bad dream, he is safe. He's not sticking things in his mouth or rolling off the couch. He's okay. but he's also not fully experiencing life. All the joy and the wonder, and yes, the pain. My son will grow and hopefully thrive, and while it may cause him sadness, he will learn about the injustices in the world. I want my son to know the history of the country that he calls home. I want him to know its triumphs and its darkest moments. I want him to know about our history and how that has informed our present. And yes, I want him to learn about slavery and Jim Crow laws and lynching and redlining and injustices in the legal system and inequity in our healthcare systems, and how he is insulated from these injustices. It is my dream that my son grows into a man who is compassionate and who cares about those around him and does his best to improve the world into which he was born. But the only way for that to be truly possible is for him to know the truth. Today I'm reminded of a quote by Albert Einstein, who said, "If the majority knew of the root of this evil, then the road to its cure would not be long." We have to know what's wrong with the road to keep people out of the ditches. At Just Communities of Arkansas, we are committed to work towards an Arkansas where every voice is heard, every person is valued, and everyone has an equal chance and a fair chance at success. But this is not possible without truly seeing people for who they are and knowing their histories. We cannot move into a community that we wish to see while ignoring the history of our state and our country. In order to heal together, we must know the cause of the wound, and that can be really hard. There is an allure to sleep, yes. It's hard for us to make mistakes in our sleep. We do, I'm sure, but it's hard. It's rare to have a difficult conversation while we're sleeping. We can usually avoid pain. But sleeping through life is not something I'm interested in. I don't want to miss the joy for fear of the pain. And I don't want my son to miss out either. Will there be mistakes? Will there be sadness? Yes. But to truly live and to truly heal, we must embrace the notion of being awake. The alternative is to sleep forever. And we've got too much learning, too much growing, and too much living to do for that.
Okay, I want to issue a disclaimer. Just because there's a lot of Clinton School alumni in here, I did not intentionally put all of them on the bill to speak, but we'll keep them coming with Amber Jackson, the Chief Equity Officer for the City of Little Rock.
Thank you, Kwami, and I too have a proclamation to share with you today. Mayor Frank Scott Jr. was unable to join us, but he does send his report. What a great group to be with today. Grateful for this opportunity. I'd like to start by recognizing the Arkansas Peace and Justice Memorial Movement for organizing the National Day of Racial Healing Events in Arkansas for a 5th consecutive year. I was telling Kwami and Clarice earlier, I hear more and more about it in the community. It's really catching on, so congratulations, you guys, and thank you. And thanks to all of your many partners. Thanks to the Municipal League for hosting us here today. And what is the National Day of Racial Healing about? Ultimately, it's about bringing people of all races and ethnicities together for healing and reconciliation. What does it mean to reconcile? To reconcile, we must know one another and own our shared history, so that we may build a new future together. Over the weekend, we honored the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. King spoke of the beloved community in which love, trust, peace, and justice prevail, and in which we can all live as brothers and sisters. Each act of reconciliation brings us closer to this beloved community. As a global majority city, meaning that Little Rock's population reflects the Black, Brown, and Indigenous people of color that make up nearly 85% of the global population, the city of Little Rock has an incredible opportunity to grow the beloved community. Our Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion has just completed its first full year of work. In this time, we've collaborated with organizations including Little Rock's Racial and Cultural Diversity Commission to facilitate dialogues designed to begin the work of knowing one another again, of stepping out of our bubbles and our echo chambers and into the beloved community. In the coming year, we will engage Black, Brown, and white communities in rectifying the injustices of the past, placing economic opportunity in the hands of the marginalized. This is the legacy of Dr. King. The work will not be easy, and we cannot do it alone. Will you join us? If you've already begun the work of the beloved community, please continue. If you've not yet started, begin this week by attending one of 19 National Day of Racial Healing events here in Arkansas. You can also email odei@littlerock.gov to learn about future events in Little Rock, such as the Equity Labs Neighborhood Mixer coming up on January 28th. There is a place for each of you in this community. We welcome you. Thank you.
You know, if you're looking at the agenda, you'll see that I'm scheduled to speak right now. But I'm going to take a moment of privilege to tell you a little bit of a story. When we talk about racial healing, one thing that we have to remember first and foremost is that we're all humans, and we're all citizens of Arkansas, no matter what your chosen profession is. And I got a email. This was last week, I believe. I got an email from a police officer asking about the National Day of Racial Healing. And for those of you that know me, I don't do a lot of talking to police officers. So I was kind of stunned when I was asked to give a call to this police officer. And I did. And we ended up talking for about 20 minutes about the importance of the National Day of Racial Healing and why the law enforcement community needs to be involved in this observance. So what I want to do is I want to bring up the chief of police for the city of Fort Smith, Danny Baker, who is the person that I called and introduce him because he has something to tell you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here this morning. Kwami is correct. I could detect the apprehension in his voice when he was talking to me. You know, it was a very good conversation, and I just appreciate so much the work that he's doing at the Arkansas Peace and Justice Movement. I appreciate the AML for allowing me to be here this morning. I didn't come with a prepared statement, but I did make some notes as I listened to the other speakers, and so I hope to convey to you adequately what my intent is for being here today. Mayor McGill would love to have been here. He sends his greetings. City Administrator Carl Gefkin also. I did have the privilege of bringing my friend and City Director Andre Good this morning, and I'm going to ask him to come up here in just a second. Andre has been a staunch supporter and advocate of healing and peace and just transformation in our community for a long time. He's also one that I lean heavily on as a mentor. Policing a city, especially the one the size of Fort Smith, can be challenging at times. And so having his input and the input of so many others and guiding me and shaping me as a police chief has been vital. And so I thank him. I thank Mayor McGill and City Administrator for all of them for the latitude that they give me in being able to do things like this. As Kwami mentioned, my presence here today started with an email. Director Good had mentioned the National Day of Racial Healing at a board of directors meeting, which prompted my thought process to begin thinking, what is this and how can we incorporate it into the police department, into what we're trying to do in Fort Smith. So I reached out, really not having any information about who would be the contact for this idea, and as God led me to Kwami. And so from that, and the conversation that we had, I agreed to be here today to do this, and I'm excited to be part of it. We have a vision at the Fort Smith Police Department. To sum that vision up, we're working toward a day that our profession is no longer needed. And so the interactions that we have with the people in our community and the decisions that we make and the way that we carry ourselves when we interact with others, we do so with the idea that we're trying to work ourselves out of a job. Because in an ideal society, there would be no need for the police. And we know that as long as we live in this broken world, that's not going to happen. But as long as we keep that as our vision and our path and our goal, that keeps us headed in the right direction. And so to help us reach that vision and to fulfill our mission of keeping our community safe and providing the security that all members of our community deserve, we understand that we've got to have their trust and we have to have their support to be able to do that. The key to that trust and that support is recognizing and acknowledging that racial disparity is still very real, and there are open wounds that still exist in our country because of it. And the healing must take place. The Fort Smith Police Department understands that policing in America is one of the most important areas that healing can take place. And that our actions and our inactions in criminal justice can have a profound impact on that healing process. And so with that in mind, we at the Fort Smith Police Department are today committing ourselves to leading the way in racial healing through policing in Fort Smith. And we hope that our commitment will serve as an example for others across the state. And I would at this time ask Director Good to step up, because I'm going to read this operational memo that will be incorporated into the Fort Smith Police Department policies and procedures effective right now. To all members of the Fort Smith Police Department Operational Memorandum 2023-01, in recognition and support of Mayor George McGill's proclamation that January 17th is to be known a National Day of Racial Healing in Fort Smith, Arkansas, the Fort Smith Police Department hereby acknowledges and agrees that just like those who came before us, it's our duty to protect the citizens and visitors of Fort Smith, as well as all members of the Fort Smith Police Department, and maintain a community and a work environment in which we may all be given the opportunities to succeed. And we must all work earnestly to create courageous and supportive environments that acknowledge the traumatic past, promote the healing of the wounds created by racial and ethnic bias, and build an equitable and just society so that all within our city and our department can thrive. And citizens, visitors, and FSPD employees have the right to be provided every opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive in nurturing environments that do not violate their safety, dignity, and humanity. And every single member of our department has the opportunity to exhibit an act of kindness and to make a simple change that can have a profound effect on an entire society. And if we all dedicate ourselves to the principles of truth,
transformation, and racial healing, we can bring about the necessary changes in thinking and behavior that will propel this great community forward as a unified force where racial biases become a thing of the past. And racial healing is a vital and crucial commitment to the education, social, mental, and overall well-being of all members of our community and our employees at the Fort Smith Police Department. This operational memo is to be incorporated into FSPD policy immediately and until properly amended or rescinded by order of the Chief of Police. Thank you very much.
This is the first police chief in the United States to do this. I'm going to keep my comments brief because I'm actually supposed to be testifying at the state capitol right now for my real job. But I just really want to thank everyone that's sitting here, everyone that's watching on YouTube and Facebook for really coming out and stepping forward for the National Day of Racial Healing in the state of Arkansas. When Clarice and I decided that we wanted to do this in the way that we're doing it, in the way that we have done it, we did not know that it would snowball and continue growing each and every year. We thought it would just be some, little thing that we do at Riverfront Park and about 6 or 7 people show up. But I'm just really excited when Chris told me about the 26 county judges. That's 3 times as many as last year. So, and 26, that's a third of the judges, right? If it's 75, do your math correct? Yes, that's gonna help me out there. But that's all I want to do is I want to thank everyone. And I want to talk about the importance of us making these words that we've heard today actionable. In my talk with Chief Baker, in the conversation that we had, I told him about that. I said, yeah, because he originally wanted to know, okay, well, where can I send my officers to participate? And then, I said, we got 19 events, some virtual, some in person, one on the campus of UA Fort Smith. When I told him, I said, I want the police officers to have something actionable, something with teeth in it. And then that's when he said, well, let me just write a policy. Like, you can do that? And he did it. So we just hope that the mayors and the police chiefs and the county judges and the governors that are here in Arkansas will take this as an example and know that we are moving forward together. And that's what this is all about. We have to do this together because none of us can do it alone. And we have to work together. We have to listen to each other. We have to talk to each other. And we have to allow ourselves to be uncomfortable and courageous. And with that, because like I said, I have to be at the Capitol for a committee meeting, I'm going to turn it over to Whitney for closing comments. And you said you wanted to do it. Okay. The great Whitney.
So let's just quiet our minds for just a minute, right? And I am a believer of mindfulness. And we've offered mindfulness to our staff here at the Arkansas Municipal. So if you quiet your mind and you concentrate on your feelings in your heart and your body, right? This is a remarkable moment in time.
everything that you have heard today from all the different perspectives, as Kwami said, turn those thoughts into actions. And if we can leave today and hold on to that commitment and that dedication, I know for a fact tomorrow will be better than it is today, right? Hilary, I am a mother of a 10-year-old girl. And last year, I closed this press conference with Amanda Gorman's book. She is the youngest National Poet Laureate. And the book was entitled Change Sings. And what I do is, when we have these press conferences and we participate in the National Declaration of Healing Week long ceremonies, I find a book and I go to my child's class and I read it to them. And I donate it for the teacher and for all of the other teachers. Now, imagine all of the students that you all can touch at the counties, at elementary schools, so forth and so on. And I always make time, and of course Mark always allows me to make time to attend Emily's parties at school, because I learned so much by looking at Emily and her friends and watching them play, watching them hug each other, watching them touch each other, and nothing is different. They're all now in 4th grade, and they're all there to learn, right? So this year, what I did is I chose a book to close, and it is by Belen Woodard, W-O-O-D-A-R-D, and it's called More Than Beach. So I'm going to read this to you quickly. Rise and shine, sunshine. It's my wake-up call, but just for a moment, my eyes cling to last night's dreams, not yet ready to leave them behind. My mornings are filled with smiles and a bump here and there. We rush in the busyness the morning brings. Being with my brothers is sort of like gazing into a mirror. Their faces reflect mine. Shades of the world with the same warm and curious eyes. I sigh when I wave goodbye. My brothers' reflections disappear and leave only me. But just one me is more than enough. And so I make the most of it. Sometimes we might trip up, but we have friends to catch us. School is a home away from home. And when at home, we learn to grow. Does anyone have the skin color crayon? My friend asks. Some call it the skin color crayon. I've heard it many times before. But this time, when I pass the peach colored crayon to him, something in me feels different. Can someone pass me the skin color crayon? Another friend asks. The question rings true throughout my classroom. This question didn't seem to bother my teachers or my friends. Why was I the only one feeling confused? My mom and I celebrate the day. We share lots of stories and giggles. I also tell her about the skin color crayon language. I explain that even though the question puzzles me, I always pass them the peach colored crayon. Mom says, well, our skin color is brown, so next time, why not just hand over the brown crayon instead? I thought about that for a while, and the idea hits me, but that doesn't feel right either. No, Mom, instead, I'll ask what color they want, because it can be any number of beautiful colors. And so the next time that question rings out, I reply in class, which one? Skin can be a multitude of beautiful colors. Oh yeah, says a classmate, I meant the peach color. And suddenly I realized that if this friend could understand, maybe my other friends could understand too. Again and again, I get asked the same question. Again and again, I reply the same way. Gently, knowingly, trying to change the language. Until I hear an echo. My teacher replies just the way that I did. Of course, she says, what color crayon would you like? Because skin tones can be any number of beautiful colors. I have been the spark, and now my whole classroom is lit up. It's so important that your space is brilliant, just like you. Soon the new language rippled through the school. If I can make such a big change here, I can also make it happen in other schools. I can put my idea to paper, and my family helps me plan it. Growing isn't always easy. Change is a team effort. And the bigger your team, the faster change happens. I lead the way and ask my friends, school, and my whole community for help. All around the world, the language is changing, minds are growing, and we will keep growing until the world knows more. We're more, much more than peach. We are each. Together, we can show the world the power of kidhood, one crayon at a time. The power of humankind, I might add, one crayon at a time. And so, with that, I mean, children are our best teachers. We tend to sometimes overcomplicate things, right? And so with me today, I have a box of crayons. This is going to stay on my desk. I would challenge you to keep a box of crayons on your desk. And always remember that there are more skin tone colors in the box than peach. There's black, there's white, there's black, there's peach. But there again, crayons. So I'll be doing the same thing. I will be donating this book to my daughter's class. I will read it to them. And I challenge you all to do this very same thing, particularly this day, each year, when the focus is on what we need to do. And that will continue on with the children that you read to. They will take it home to their parents, and the ripple effect will just go on and on. And so here at the lead, Mark, our executive director, this is just a baby. Our hearts are in it just as much as yours, but thank you so much to APJMM and everything that you guys do. It's tremendous. And thank you so much to the counties, to the county judges, to the county employees, the municipal officials, the municipal employees here today. There again, let's just hold fast to what we have felt in our hearts today. And let's take the action within our hearts as soon as we walk out these doors. And with that, I say, wonderful National Day of Racial Healing to all of you and your communities. And we appreciate all of you very much for being here. And a group photo if we can.